1 year ago this week, we took the decision to sell our house that we owned with a mortgage and moved into a rental accommodation instead. Now, 12 months on, it looks like I was wrong about house prices, but it's not as clear cut as that, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. So if we compare the ONS, the Land Registry, the official house prices in this country from June 2022, so I recorded the video in August 2022, and ONS always report 2 months prior to that, despite the fact the data is lagged by more like 6 or 7 months. But either way, this was June 2022, and if we fast forward to June 2023, we can see house prices are actually up from 282,000 in June 2022 to £287,000 in June 2023. So why am I still quite happy with what is going on, despite the fact obviously the thumbnail says I was wrong about house prices, and at the moment I'm sitting in a rental property waiting for a house price crash, etc. Well, I think there's a few things to consider. The first one is the ONS data, the massive lag in the ONS data. So last year it would have been lagging by about 7 months, as you had the 2-month reporting delay, and the average time from agreeing a sale to completion was 5 months. And this year the delay is down to about 6 months, so a 2-month reporting delay and 4 months between agreeing a sale and completion. So this chart here isn't really a true indication of what is happening to the housing market, and only really covers about 6 months of what has happened over the past 12 months. What is more important is the direction that the market is heading, and if we look at some of the more up-to-date indexes, you get a much better idea of where things are going. So up first, we have Nationwide. Actually, not that one. I want to show you this one first. So Nationwide year on year are down 3.8%, which is quite a contrast to what I just showed you with the ONS. ONS are up £5,000, whereas Nationwide are down 3.8%. Now, just a couple of things to keep in mind. Nationwide, I think, cover about 10% of the market, so it's not the entire market, and it's only for their mortgaged customers, so it doesn't include cash buyers who potentially, in a falling market, will be picking up the biggest discounts. So if we're seeing that these guys are down 3.8%, that is a strong indicator of the direction of travel. And if we look at this data showing the change in direction of house price growth, I'll just hide the webcam very briefly, we can see that when I made the video last August, annual house price growth in the UK was around about 10%. And in the space of 12 months, we've fallen from 10% to nearly minus 4%. That is a 14% change in direction. That is a massive change in market sentiment and also the direction of prices. And I'm expecting this to continue down over the coming months and the coming year or two as well. We also have Halifax showing a fairly similar picture. Let me just put the webcam back on. They are down 2.4% annually. And at the time of recording the video last year, if I can blow this up a bit bigger for you guys, you can also see that we have gone from near enough 12% house price growth last August to negative 2% at the moment. So again, about a 14% change in direction. And even if we look at Rightmove, who I hate quoting because this is purely an asking price index and it does not include reductions, this is for new listings only, but they are showing the biggest month-on-month fall for 5 years, so down 1.9% in August. And annually, they've also gone into negative territory as well, at minus 0.1%, which is the first time they've been negative year on year since 2019. So all of the leading indicators are showing that house prices are heading down, and fairly sharply when you look at things like Halifax that are down 4% or 3.8%, having been up about 10% a year ago. So when you look at the ONS figures, to me, all this says, if you go back and watch my videos, this is basically what I predicted, is that the housing market would top, which it's done there, so it's topped out, and then there'd be this kind of little denial bounce, which came about because of the small uptick we saw in the spring, when people thought that this wasn't going to be a crash, and there was renewed optimism in the market, and swap rates and mortgages come down ever so slightly, and because there's a 6-month delay on this data, this is what is flushing out through the system at the moment. So we're seeing this small uptick, and this is going to continue down. It's going to follow the same trajectory as Nationwide and Halifax. So despite the fact you can look at the ONS and say, I was wrong about house prices, because technically house prices from June 2022, which would have been from about January 2022 compared to June 2023 are up £5,000. I'm still very confident in the direction of travel. I'm still very confident that we are in the middle, or still in the first part of a much bigger correction in the housing market, or a crash, or whatever you want to call it. But what is certain for me is that house prices are no longer going up. I'm currently parked in the rental market watching this, and I do have a bias. You guys know that I have a bias. I would like to see the house prices fall. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to go and buy again for myself, as I've covered in recent videos. I might decide to invest instead, as I actually find renting quite freeing. It's quite nice not being tied to a property and knowing you can move at any time, especially with the UK. Well, the UK seems to be heading in the wrong direction at the moment, and I've got a video coming up soon where I talk about whether it's time to leave the UK, so make sure you're subscribed for that one. So overall, yes, technically I was wrong about house prices from 12 months ago to now if you go by the ONS only. If you go by Halifax or Nationwide, you can see house prices have clearly came down. And I think my prediction from 12 months ago is that I said house prices were going to fall at least 10% over an 18 to 24 month period. And I think we're well on course for that. And if you did factor in inflation, i.e. house prices versus wages, then house prices actually fallen a lot more than the 3.8%, which is the most negative index I can show you from Nationwide. We're probably already in double-digit falls. And also throughout this time, this is more from a personal note, I've had my equity parked in savings accounts, which have been returning close to about 4.5%, I think, on average. I know savings are above that at the moment. So my equity, which I'm using purely for buying houses, so it doesn't have to outperform inflation, it just has to outperform the housing market. If house prices have gone down the best part of 4% one direction and my equity's gone up 4% the other direction, I'm actually pretty close to double-digit benefits already. And I think things are getting worse, as I spoke about in one of my most recent videos. Now, if you want to see my most recent thoughts, make sure you follow me on Twitter at DarrenTheDegen. I'll pop a link in the pinned top comment. And if you want to see the full reasons why we decided to sell our house and the arrogant sellers that we had to deal with during that process, I'm going to pop up a video now, and I'll see you guys over there.